All right, let's talk about this joke of a fight because that's what it is. Okay, that's what this fight is. It's a joke of a fight. The fact that this fight is happening is a joke. No, I get it. Right. It's gonna sell a lot, right? Um, it's look. You can get you know Denzel Washington to box Brad Pitt, and it would probably sell more pay-per-views than most title fights. But does it really mean that it's a meaningful fight? No, right? I mean that wouldn't make sense. That's kind of stupid, right? Um, just saying that to make a point. Is this fight going to sell? Well, yeah, it's going to sell at an arena. It's going to do okay in pay-per-view and the whole nine. It's going to do all those things, but it's not going to really do anything for boxing. All right, it's in the grand scheme of things, this fight is doing nothing. Right, nothing. Yeah, but dude, it's two Mexicans. Like what? So, all right, look, man. I get it. It's gonna be an exciting fight while it lasts. Right, and and that's fine. But are you telling me that this is the only fight you could have put any of these two guys in that would have given an exciting fight? And by the way, like it's not like any of these guys have given us fight of the year candidates, all right, in recent years. So I don't know why people think we're going to see this epic fight. I could guarantee you it's not going to be the fight of the year, right? But since the fight's happening, and this is a boxing channel, I guess I got to talk about the damn fight. So here I am. Right? What are you talking about it there? Well, why are you here? All right? Because first of all, because I can, and because the fight's booked. It's taking over. What is it? Cinco de Mayo weekend. So I got to talk about it. So let's talk about it. First of all right. Do these two have a history? Yes, they do have a history. Um, to kind of refresh everybody's, well, for those that don't know or do know, everything started. I don't know which one of these two things happened first. All right. So either one or the other happened first, and I'm not going to look it up right now. So whoever knows, put it in the comment section, whatever. But there was one incident where Chavez Jr. was asked about Saul Canelo Alvarez, and who was very popular in Mexico at the time, right? And Chavez Jr., whether you believe him or you don't, said, "Oh, who's that? I don't know who it is." Like he tried to pass it off like he had no idea who he was, right? Now, while he was asked about Canelo, it could have been just because he's another popular boxer, or because Canelo said what he said at one of the post fights, and he had said something. Canelo said, "I'm popular because of my talent, not because who my father is." Right. So one or the other happened first, and ever since, right, there was some words, being passed back and forth. After Canelo, well, first of all, I mean, the height of hypocrisy, by the way, right? Canelo, if I believe, had a fight the same night that Chavez Jr. fought Sergio Martinez. I think if my memory serves me correctly, it was Jose Zito Lopez, right? I think I could be. I think I'm right, but and I think both fights are in Vegas even. But obviously, Chavez Jr. versus Sergio Martinez was the bigger fight, but I think Canelo fighting on the same night probably cost at least 100,000 buys to the Martinez Chavez fight, which did over 400,000 buys, right? Um, Obviously, Bob Arum and Chavez Jr. did not like that. Chavez Jr. at that time was right, right? He said that opponent of whoever he's fighting is a fucking joke, right? Did not even belong in that weight class. Now, there's something hypocritical about that because Chavez Jr. himself did not belong in the weight class he was fighting in. but and probably outweighed Martinez by more than Canelo outweighed Josecito Lopez, right? At least it's close, right? But nonetheless, who was fighting a better opponent? Well, Chavez Jr. was. Now, Chavez Jr. lost, okay? For 11 and a half rounds, he got thoroughly outboxed. He knocked down Martinez, had him hurt, really hurt. But then in the end of the fight, the people have amnesia, he was backing up Chavez Jr. If you go back and look at the last like 20 seconds of the fight, right? But anyway, um, when Canelo lost to, and I know a lot of this shit because I saw a lot of the Spanish interviews, by the way, but when Canelo lost to Floyd Mayweather, I mean, well, actually, wait, hold on, right? When Chavez Jr. lost to Sergio Martinez, it's almost like the Mexican press, right, or Spanish commentators in general in the U.S. or Mexico completely forgot that he was getting completely dominated for 11 and a half rounds, right? At times was getting backed up by Sergio Martinez, right? And like backing him up to the ropes from the middle of the ring all the way to the ropes at times and shit. But I mean, they were talking about yes, he showed promise like in the end because he knocked him down, and I mean, he was getting praise for his performance, right? It was fucking ridiculous, right? Now, I'll admit this is only from Spanish commentators that I actually saw. I'm not going to say every Spanish commentator was praising him, but holy shit, were they praising him, right? Now, when Canelo lost to Floyd Mayweather, I mean, you would have thought Canelo just, was a bum and shit. Like, no hizo nada. No, nomás se quedó ahí. He didn't do anything. He just stood there. And then you had like Chavez Jr. He went in on Canelo. Like Canelo just he didn't put enough effort, and Chavez Jr. said it was a pathetic performance. Like dude, like let me, you against Sergio Martinez was a pathetic performance. All right, and then you knocked him down in the 12th round, and you want to act like the first 11 and a half rounds where this little dude, okay, it looked like a polar bear versus a penguin in that fight, and the penguin was beating the shit out of the polar bear, and you're not in a position to talk shit, all right? Out of all the people, Chavez Jr. But anyway, Chavez Jr. went his own way, couldn't make middleweight anymore, which was damaging to his career. Everybody knew this, right? And since then, he's been looking for like some money fights where guys could move up to fight him, right? Now he signed with Al Heyman, and then Heyman put him in there against a guy his own size, and he got knocked the fuck out. Okay, or didn't he quit? I think he quit in the stool, didn't he? After all those years, right? Let me tell you something about Chavez Jr., right? When not to mention that his own father quit on the stool against Costa Sue, by the way, and against De La Hoya, ironically. When De La Hoya quit on the stool, okay, retired on the stool against Manny Pacquiao, I mean, Chavez Jr. was letting him have it, right? I mean, indirect insults left and right. Now, Mexicans don't quit and all this other bullshit. And then he fucking quit, right? He fucking quit. And then his excuse was, in the height of irony, I lost because, he was too big. The motherfucker, you wait the same shit on fight night. Okay. You're just used to fighting dudes a lot smaller than you. But anyway, well, that's it. Just a turn of undisciplined, just didn't have his priorities straight anyway, right? The height of undisciplined behavior. And his own father went on ESPN Deportes and said, my son should just retire, right? Because his father tried to train him, right? And he said, he should just retire. He has no discipline. He's not focused. His head is not on straight. All right, he's walking around in pink underwear. Well, I hate to say that, but we saw it on 24/7 when he was eating cornflakes with pink underwear, by the way. But nonetheless, all right, he called for his son to retire. That este chavo no tiene remedio. Like this guy, there's no hope for him. That's what he said, right? Now, since there's a money fight and there's money involved, Chavez Sr. has changed his tune. I mean, he's sticking his neck out for his son right now, and I get it, it's his son, right? But like he's trying to place bets with ESPN commentators on TV, and ¿cuánto quieres postar, David? Like how much you want to bet? Like that his son's going to beat Canelo and this, that, and then I promise you, he's promising everybody that we have a new and focused, and we're going to see the real Chavez Jr. The focused one, the one that matters. We're going to see it, against Canelo. I promise you that, right? All right. Well, we'll talk after the fight. So anyway. Now all that's changed, right? And of course, Canelo's gone his own route. And look, I've come on here and I've done videos criticizing Canelo because as a boxing commentator on YouTube, right? I nitpick shit, right? I nitpick. That's what I do, right? And I try to be fair and judge everybody equally. And if Canelo does something I disagree with, I call him out on it. If Golovkin does something I disagree with, right? I don't like just have my favorites and play. That's not what I try to do, right? But I mean, Canelo's a far better fighter than Chavez Jr. He's skill-wise, it's not even close, right? That's number one right out the bat. The only reason people think that this might be competitive is because Chavez Jr. is a lot bigger. That's it. Okay. Now I'll give you this: he's taller, but I don't know if he's that much bigger. Okay. People seem to confuse height with big. You have to take into account the bone structure on an individual, for example, right? And all that. And Canelo, you can just tell he has a big frame. And just because he's short doesn't necessarily mean that he's a lot smaller than Chavez Jr., right? But I think overall he is, but I think people are overestimating how much bigger Chavez is. Chavez is also a very undisciplined individual. He balloons a lot up in weight, okay? Now, Canelo rehydrates back in weight, right? But that's a little different than Chavez Jr. I mean, Chavez Jr. looks like he's had way too many buffets, all right, when in between fights. There's a big difference, right? And Canelo gains back his water weight. Chavez Jr. just undisciplined, not working out, not going to the gym, just gaining weight, gaining fat. That's what he's gaining. And then he loses it, in training. It's caught up to him. That's why he can't make middleweight anymore. And he was too big for it anyway, but on top of that, right? So that's why there's a misconception about how much bigger, quote unquote, he is. But look, Chavez Jr. is way too easy to hit. His style is all made for Canelo, right? Guys like that are not going to beat Canelo, right? A come forward guy. Like what? Like that plays into Canelo's hand. That's exactly what Canelo wants you to do. It makes his job easier. Canelo's kryptonite is dudes with fast feet. I mean, Canelo is going to look like Twinkie Toes, okay, next to this motherfucker. Like, Canelo does not have the fastest feet when I compare it with the guys that he's fought, okay? But compared to Chavez Jr., you'll see he's going to look a lot faster on his feet. Now, that's going to be the halo effect, so I don't want people to come on and, oh my God, did you see Canelo's improved footwork? Like, nah, that's just the guy he's sitting me in front of. That's it. All right? Now, all you have to do with Chavez Jr. is two-step him. That's all you got to do. Okay? No, let me say this, okay? I'm going to respectfully disagree with something 78 Sports City said. because I think he's wrong as hell on this. All right. 78 Sports TV said that Chavez. Now, for some reason, 78 Sports TV it has been hanging on to this potential thing of Chavez Jr. for I don't know how long. It's this. This is insane. But with that said, all right. If you look at the Sergio Martinez fight, all right, he never let Chavez Jr. set his feet to throw a punch. This is a guy who needs to have his feet set. All right, that's what he has to do. And there was times where Martinez backed him up because his punches were actually landing. Also, the up jab that was landing was completely disrupting any rhythm Chavez Jr. was trying to establish in the fight. For at least half of the fight, he had no rhythm at all. Right? And there was times where Chavez did land leather on Martinez, and obviously Martinez didn't stop doing what he was doing. Right? It's not like Martinez was getting hit zero, in every round. He was getting hit here and there, but Chavez Jr. was just not able to set his feet. Chavez Jr. fights that way. He tries to bum rush you. He tries to trade with you. He likes to take one to land one. All right, but when the individual is timing you to where he's going to land and you're not going to hit him, not get hit, it's a little hard to take two to land one when the individual's being very precise with his punches, using his footwork, using lateral movement, and Chavez Jr. was just way out of his league in that fight. What we saw in the middle of the 12th round was what we knew all along. We knew that if he happens to land a big shot, he couldn't hurt Martinez because he's a lot bigger. He outweighs the guy by a lot, right? That's what we knew, all right? And obviously in this fight against Canelo, I think the big difference here is that, first of all, I think Canelo has better punch resistance than Sergio Martinez. He's not an old ass in his late 30s like Sergio Martinez was when he fought Chavez Jr. Now, look, Canelo does not have as good as footwork as Sergio Martinez, but I think he'll make up for that with his power, and he has power on both hands. And Chavez Jr. I'm telling you guys right now, don't bet the house on Chavez Jr. Okay, don't fall for it. Right? You're gonna hear about how he's focused, and Chavez Sr. is gonna promise everyone that he's rejuvenated and better than ever, and trust me, he's gonna say these things to pump up his son, okay, to motivate his son. But even if Chavez Jr. has the training camp of his life, let me tell you something right now. We can get Apollo Creed off of the grave, right? And have him train Chavez Jr., and he still would not beat Canelo, all right? Well, I don't know. I mean, fucking what he did with Rocky, I mean, Apollo Creed will teach Chavez all his secrets, and then out of nowhere, I mean, Chavez Jr. will be boxing like Sugar Ray Robinson, all right? I mean, so I don't know about that, but Apollo Creed's dead, right? Drago killed him. So that ain't going to happen. But I got Canelo by late stoppage in this fight. I really do. Canelo, look, Chavez Jr. tries to fight a short man's fight, and he's gonna pay the price for it. The long torso is gonna be torn up. All right. I mean, you know how sick I got. I got so sick and tired of hearing about Chavez Jr.'s amazing hook to the body. I mean, I saw the same left hook to the body that you guys saw. So, what are you guys saying? Like, what? I mean, I'm not saying it's not a good left hook to the body, but when I heard people say things like, "Oh, that hook to the body is better than his dad's," like what? What are you guys? Oh, that left hook to the body is one of the best in boxing. Like, what? He was hitting dudes. He outweighed by 30 pounds of those hooks and never knocked him out with it. Oh, he's big. He's going to knock out Canelo. He's been bigger than everybody except one guy, the guy that he quit against or TKO'd, whatever it was. Did he get TKO'd or he quit, whatever it was, right? And he hasn't knocked anybody out since 2012. And that was Andy Lee. Like, where's this row of knockouts that this dude's had? I think he's had like 2 knockouts in 2009. You know, if I'm not mistaken, one of them was fucking, what's his name? All right, Manfredo. Like, really? Like, Canelo would knock out Manfredo too. Like, I'm not impressed with that. Like, what? Right? He couldn't knock out Sabik. I mean, are you kidding me? A fight I thought he lost, by the way. That motherfucker went to Germany and Felix Sturm knocked him out. And Felix Sturm doesn't knock anybody out. Right? So, like, his punches are heavy because he's big, right? So, yeah, if he fights a much smaller guy, there's that chance. But if you're banking on that chance, I mean, it's not going to do anything for you. So you cannot have no defense and fight Canelo. It's like that is a recipe for disaster, right? I mean, that's just the way it is. Not to mention that I think he's going to come weight trained as fuck. That dude could, I mean, he was at renegotiating contracts to bring up the weight in some fights. All right, because he just couldn't make the weight. So he's going to have to dedicate himself here if he doesn't want to come in weight trained as fuck. Right? So we'll see about that. And Canelo, late stoppage. But with that said, okay, I really hope after Canelo dispatches this dude, I hope we're done. Okay. I hope, I mean, this dude has Rocky Montage type training camp. That way we don't have to keep hearing this bullshit about the potential. Let me tell you about the potential thing, okay? Let me just put it this way, all right? There's several guys that have this, okay? Chavez Jr. is one of them. Just thinking right off the top of my head, okay? Chris Arreola, Adrian Broner, right? There's some others, okay, who are known to be undisciplined, out of the ring, and people always question whether or not they're at their best, if they're living up to their potential. I've always believed this. Okay, always. Some of the greatest athletes of all time, right? Even boxers wouldn't let themselves not come in at their best, right? If you don't come in at your best, there is something mentally wrong with you. I don't mean like you're sick or you can't function in society. I mean, I'm talking about the sport of boxing, okay? You are, whether it's either whether they know it or whether it's subconsciously, they don't want to come in at their best and fail, okay? They want to be able to say, I was only 80%. I wasn't even focused. Whether they win, because think about it. If you win and you were not even at your best, I mean, in their mind, that makes me look better. I wasn't even at my best and I won. But if they lose, it's a scapegoat, right? That's what it is. So they get to say, well, he beat me, but I mean, it's not like I was at my best. Fans say that. Man, if only he was disciplined, I think he would have won that fight. I mean, that's only speculation. you have to question why these individuals have that fear. Okay, that fear of not wanting to be at your best is a weakness. All right, and fighters like that never become the best of all time. Fighters like that, all right, start losing a lot, and then right off to the sunset, and forever people talk about they want to put their fucking potential in the fucking Hall of Fame, right? I mean, we don't know anything about any of these fighters. Look, out of all the fighters in the fucking world, Chavez Jr. is the one fighter that cannot have this excuse. He never had to work a full-time job like a lot of these fighters did, okay, going up, okay? He was matched up perfectly by Top Rank on the rise. They slowly moved him up, okay, slowly, methodically. Okay, they put him in there against opponents he can beat to bring up his confidence, and um, they took some calculated risk in getting him a title. He didn't have to beat the actual champion. That champion got stripped, and he beat an okay fighter over there in from Germany or whatever, right? Is that where Sabic was from? I don't know. And they matched him up carefully against Manfredo, and Andy Lee was a calculated risk as well, and that was actually his best win, by the way, right? But this is an individual who refused to take post-fight drug tests, right? When in Texas, and you have to question that, okay? In certain fights, by the way, where he looked very big, and it looked like he outweighed his opponents by who knows how much. So I can't, in any way, shape, or form, talk about this guy's potential. I mean, I get sick of that shit, right? Because you're doing a disservice to fighters that do train as hard as they can and come in at their full potential, right? I cannot reward laziness. I can't. I can't reward someone for something they did not accomplish. Have you ever gone long distance running? You reach a point, okay, before you reach your second win, where it almost feels like your body is saying, just stop. Like, you're going to feel better if we stop, right? And this is kind of like what I feel about this, right? They don't, they can't even beat the training camp, right? I mean, this is things that we don't, like, it's almost like we know the fighters signed to fight. We see them at the press conferences. We see some videos here and there on YouTube, and then the fight happens. Then the weigh-in in the fight. But you don't see the whole story. Like, you don't see the whole thing. The struggle, this of beating the scale, and at the same time watching film and getting a game plan and doing everything possible to win. I cannot in any way, shape, or form look at a fighter, right? And by the way, Chavez Jr. is the king of this, right? I mean, he tops the fucking list, right? I cannot reward a fighter for such a mental flaw, right? There's no reason he would not come in at his best if he knew coming in at his best meant he would win. There's no reason. Logically, there's no reason. Either A, knows he's not going to beat that opponent, so I'm going to have that built-in excuse already. And sometimes it's an excuse to themselves, so they could tell themselves, well, he beat me, but he wouldn't beat me if I was at my best, right? Or B, they're not sure if they can, so they'll rather have that excuse built in. That's what it is, right? And I can't reward that, right? Areola, one of the most pathetic things I ever heard was "Yo, man, I like drinking and I like eating, man, and it's hard. It's hard to get like if he can't beat the fucking food and the beer, right? Like you expect me to believe that he has the potential to reach his full potential to beat the guys he's fighting? You know that mental block makes him inferior to his opponent, right? That's it. I mean, that's just the way it is. I mean, if this was life and death war, these motherfuckers would be dead already, right? Yeah, it's just the way it is. So look, enough of the potential, right? The potential, like what the fuck, right? So if you go to the club, right, and you don't have the balls to approach any girl because you're scared of talking to girls, all right, and then you go home and what are you gonna do? Tell yourself that, well, I could have talked to him if I could have taken a broad home if I wanted to, you know, but I had the potential to, but you know, I didn't do it. Well, are you gonna do that? Are you gonna brag about how you could do it if you wanted to? No, no, no. In boxing, you got to show it. All right. If you don't show your potential by default does not exist. At that point, it's all speculation. All right. That's all it is. At the end of the day, that's all it is. Right. The potential. Right. The what? I have the potential to be a millionaire. Right. I just, I just don't work hard enough at it. But if I wanted to, I could be a millionaire. Like really? Right? Look, man. Okay, that's it. I remember about. I'm breaking my own rule with this fucking video, by the way. It was last year, actually, 2016, early 2016. I did a video saying I'm never going to talk about Chavez Jr. ever again. Right? And Canelo comes along and signs to fight the dude. Now, let's talk about Canelo. All right? I have far less criticisms about Canelo overall. I think he's fought far better fighters. He is a better fighter. He has an actual future in the sport, and he's a disciplined fighter, and does show us his potential. Doesn't leave it up to speculation, and he's still young. Actually, people forget how young this guy is, right? Compared to Chavez, I mean, he makes Canelo's. I mean, it's like it's hard even once you finish talking about Chavez Jr., it's hard to really criticize Canelo, right? But we have to. So first of all, the fact that this fight's happening. I mean, I just saw a video of Canelo talking about how Chavez Jr. is so undeserving and so undisciplined to get a big fight. You fucking signed the fight, the dude. Okay, I mean, I mean, come on, all right. No, él no se merece esto y él no se merece, no tiene disciplina. Like, dude, like what? But obviously, I don't like to fight. But let me tell you something, okay? Then you got to fight GGG at 160. Then, okay? Like you can't fight Chavez Jr. at 164 or whatever the fuck the catch weight is, right? It could change, by the way. You never know. Chavez Jr. may be like, "Hey, I had too many donuts this week. Can we bring it up half a pound?" You know. Um, there's no reason you're gonna fight somebody at that weight class, right? This made up weight class, by the way. But not fight Gennady Golovkin at 160. They're like, there's no reason at all, right? Now a lot of people are saying, no, this is so he can fight a bigger man, and it's a tune-up for the fight with Golovkin. Now, first of all, Chavez Jr. is not going to prepare you for Golovkin in any way, shape, or form. He fights nothing like Golovkin, right? Um, so that's that. Other than maybe, hey, preparing for the size, all right, fine. But nonetheless, if he ends up fighting Gennady Golovkin and does everything on his side to try and make the fight happen after this fight, then by all means, it's okay then, right? But we'll wait and see who the hell he fights come September, when I believe he'll be fighting again. I don't know who he's going to fight yet. I hope it's Golovkin. As a boxing fan, that's the fight I want to see. But I don't know, man. I don't see how Chavez Jr. is preparing him for Golovkin. Like, again, he fights nothing like Gennady Golovkin. Doesn't have anywhere near the skill set of Gennady Golovkin. So I don't know what they're thinking. Okay, maybe a money grab before they have to fight Golovkin or whatever. But still, right? Anyway, with that said, this fight's a circus. It's what it is. Um, maybe not as maybe that's unfair, but it's a notch above circus. How about that, right? And and that's that. All right. Hopefully they put on a good undercard at the very least, right? And maybe some title fights on the undercard, and it could be worth maybe looking at the event. Um, but we'll see. We'll see. Anyway, man, tell me what you guys think. I'm out.